Hey, how's everybody doing? I was like, look, Mr. Nobody here. And hey, I thought I'd go ahead and give a little bit of my input, my take on this whole Sony thing, physical copies and all that whatnot jazz. Now, I'm also going to talk about why it sort of hits a little bit for me, other than the fact of just not standing on the ground of being in and involved with any of these companies. If we're going to be doing something, we're going to do something. With that being said, look, Sony it came out. Everybody knows by now that PS6 is not going to do physical copies, not going to do any physical copies, none whatsoever. Got everybody up in arms, which basically has started a whole thing of looking at everything that Sony is doing, whether that's your account being inactive after 3 months or whatever like that, and they over here about to confront you about, hey, we can delete your stuff, right? I was like, whereas people looking at some of their trophies in the gaming library and then not telling you however much you played or what you have accomplished, things like that. Um, and to be honest, this really sort of started over GTA, which was something that I was like, I'll just go ahead and speak on it, of the fact that they were basically coming out and saying it's going to be nothing but digital copies. I was like, the physical copy is just nothing but a case itself. So everybody got to see that this was basically going to be how it all started. And I do think that while GTA is what got this whole ball rolling to where we got seen with the whole Sony thing, that I do think they are in separate situations, just because like we already done seen. I was like, I even heard it before. They was talking about the pre-order stuff of the fact that people were like, oh, a GTA, I'm gonna buy it. I was like, last time they had a game, I was over here at the end of like my mom's embryo. I was like over here. I was just a twinkle in my daddy eye last time I played GTA or whatever. And look, I was like, I've never been a GTA guy. Like, I played it. I was like, I never play. I pretty much played Liberty Cities and the last one. Yeah, I played them. I was like, it's fun. I was like, it's like basically, I was like, hey, it's cool. You get to go in the game. I was like, beat up some people, do some reckless activities and stuff. Sure, I was like, I'll play a little bit of the storyline, and then after a while, I just sort of forgot about it. It just sort of wasn't a game that I was on. To be honest, I was like, I sort of was, just because it was like, at the time of like being a kid, it was sort of like, ooh, this it's like, it was like going to be able to watch a rated R movie when you know you wasn't supposed to, or you can't. That's what GTA was to a lot of people. GTA was really just that, hey, I'm doing something I'm not supposed to do. This is rated M for mature, and I'm not a mature audience. Like, that's really kind of what it was. So it's like, oh, cool. And it's like, at that time now, I was like, look, gaming now was different than what it was back then. But it was really just sort of playing the game and being like, oh, well, look at all this. I was like, I could go get these women. I could go to the strip club. I could do these drugs. I can go and throw this money. Look at my grenade launcher. Look at these people. I'm robbing them for cars. Ha ha he he. That's all it was. You know. Now it done became a whole different thing, especially with the multiplayer and all that other stuff. But I thought the game, for the most part, I was like, it was a fine game. To be honest, I had sort of got onto the Saints Row stuff, where it was I was like, the second one and the third one was a really great game, or whatnot. And then I thought that it, what, I was like, GTA versus Saints Row is really kind of like Walking Dead versus like Z Nation. I was like, one that takes itself really seriously but then do some really goofy stuff, but versus one that is like, nah, we're playing in a fake world, we're going to be doing some ridiculous stuff. But anyway, so I've never been on that GTA hype train of like, I was like, I've been waiting, I'm gonna get this. I was like, I've never been like that with this type of with this series of games. How I know, and everybody got like their game. Like, I used to be Assassin's Creed guy. Like, I was like, as soon as Assassin's Creed dropped, I was really going to get it, until like basically I stopped. I know some people like that with Call of Duty until they stopped or whatever. But anyway, so the whole hype and seeing all this, I already knew that whatever it was on the $80 versus the $100, which is basic, which is really a scam. But games has been doing that forever. With I was like, whether it's the like 2K with the currency stuff, or games being like, this is the standard edition, this is the deluxe edition, this is the ultimate edition, and a lot of that was really just BS, especially when it's like you're just also going to come out with a DLC later on anyway, and it's not a game that keeps on building. Cause I will say this about GTA, that I think that with its multiplayer game mode that it launched it with the last one, that I think that it was like, okay, you can sustain it being a game that you keep on playing, as we have seen year in, year out, year in and year out. And I think those type of games, I was like, they were able to do it with their last version. And I was like, those type of games where you could keep building on, building on, building on in some form, I think that is going to be what it is. I was like, as long as they're giving you something, most people are able to be like, oh, I don't even know this, or I don't even care. And I was like, all right, cool. I can understand that for the most part. Um, so I was like, I already knew that people buying it, getting it, that I was like, that was going to be a thing. I don't necessarily understand pre-orders for a digital game, but whatever. And basically they end up basically making their money back. Cool. That's all in the good of itself. PlayStation, on the other hand, and doing the physical copies. And let's be honest, is it the physical copy stuff? Yes, but it's also the fact that you will have nothing even if you buy it. Kind of like at the same time, we've seen like the 500 movies and media stuff being taken away instantly. I was like, we've already seen that some people stuff like you get knocked off servers, or you get or all these other things. That guess what, the game doesn't work. You can't do anything with the game. So it's a lot more than that. Where like GTA is a game in of itself, it can stand over there. I was like, and will it set precedent and stuff like that? I think it will, but at the end of the day, I was like, hey, if the game doesn't sell, the game doesn't sell. GTA was going to be all that on its own, and it's going to be able to stand on its own compared to if other gaming places try to do this. Um, but PlayStation with the physical copies and not being able to keep your digital stuff, I think it's sort of a problem. I was like, it's a problem because I was like, I do, yes, while there is a crowd that just want physical copies, and I think, but it's like some of the people are like physical copy people, and then some of the people are also just sort of like, oh, if this is the business we're going to stand on, we're going to stand on this business. Now, I'll say for me that for a long time I was physical copy kind of guy, and then I also understand too that's like you're when moving, like if you're moving place to place, or you just don't have an abundance of space, physical copies can be a lot more difficult. I was like that for I was like where I was like food physical, physical for a long time, and then I stopped doing it. But I was like, some of that was just like, hey, I was like, I got these games, look, get some money for them. I wasn't really into gaming, so I was like, I didn't have my collection of it. Then I started building my collection again, and I was like, I guess as we're going this route of stuff, you sort of like, hey, you can't beat them, join them type of thing. So it's like you join in with digital or whatever. But then I started realizing that with some of my old consoles, that I was like, oh man, I don't have the games for that anymore. Oh man, I was like, it'd been great if I could play that game. And I was like, oh, okay, you know what? I was like, I regret sort of getting rid of some of my physical copies. So it's like, at worst, I will get a physical copy of games that I love or whatever. Even if I sort of maybe did buy them digitally at a time, I was like, if I really like it, we're gonna buy a physical copy. So I was like, that was sort of that. Whereas like some of the games, or there were better deals or whatever it may be, I was like, I'm gonna buy the physical copy. I still go to GameStop and grab some here and there, than to buy digital in of itself or whatever. I was like, digital really to me is like, really, I was like, what digital sort of had was the fact that you would get killer deals where it's like, yeah, this disc over here may drop to like $20 maybe, but it's pretty much going to probably stay around like 30, 40 when the game is like 60 or whatever like that. Where like digital, guess what, that game might drop down to 8, and it's like $100 game. So it's like, hey, it just makes sense. It's the deal of everything. But every game's are 80% off. Oh, okay. So hey, sometimes you got to make a compromise or whatever. I don't think you have to be fully either or, as long as you understand what the whole situation that this is about. And it's really about, hey, I paid for this. whether it's this physical thing in my hand or whether it's just a software that's on my system. Either way, we all pay for it. We want it. We keep it. All that jazz. So with me, I was like, what really sort of had driven home doing the physical copy stuff was I was like being here in North Carolina. I was like, we got hit with Hurricane Helene in such a massive way. Now, on one hand, yes, I was like, me having a physical copy is not going to be like me being able to boot up and play the game system. Like that's not necessarily what was happening. But at the same time, I was like, I was like, of the disaster, I was the fortunate end of the disaster stuff, to where I was like, look, I have a Switch. I was like, and guess what? I don't have internet access. But you know what I do have? I do have the cartridges that allowed me to play games while there was literally nothing to do. There's no TV, there's no internet, there's nothing. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm glad I have some of the hard copies and not just the digital or whatever, because some of the digital, hey, needs the internet in order to play. Even though some of the games was also onto the system that you could, and I was like, you could sort of play them just fine. But also with that was the whole thing with like also realizing that, hey, like I said, I was in a more of a better situation. That hey, if I had a DVD player, if I had a portable DVD player, I was like, I have DVDs that I could have played to pass the time, and I actually started been doing the DVD thing a lot more than the game, just because I was like, now that it's on streaming service, it could bounce here, bounce there. It might not be around at all or whatever. That I was like, oh, I want the digital copies. I was like, also when I didn't have internet, guess what saved me? Having the physical copies of things. So I was like, so I've already been on this thing for a while of getting back into it or whatever. I was like, but I understand the importance of it, not just being say the kid or the guy that's also been in an unfortunate situation of like not having the money for these things or whatever. Because I'll tell you that as well too, is that when these games are ridiculous amount, and I always hear people that games been expensive, and yes, games has always been expensive, just like how everything in life is pretty much expensive. If you don't have money, you don't have money. If you're poor, you're poor. If you're broke, you're broke. Like, I was like, where, like how people were like, will say like this time in comparison to the time before, it's like, yes, I was like, things are astronomically a lot more expensive. But at the same time, if you was poor then, you was poor then. And the games is no different. That game that's like $80, I'm not doing that. Especially for it's like you're gonna like hop on the game, and most people, and like it's funny the way that everybody complains about games, but yet y'all will pay full price for it. Whereas like might as well just wait for some of these games to drop. I was like, that's how I was. I was like, I was in no rush to play some of these games. I was like, I'll just wait for these to drop. It doesn't matter. I was like, I ain't got the money to pay for that for just one game when I could be like, I'm gonna buy 3 or 4 games. That's how I always am. I'm like, how much can that $80 spread me? Well, okay, I was like one game. I was like, or can I spread? It's like the cat. It's like the Cat Williams thing, where it's like, hey, I can buy you this $100 thing, game system thing right here, right now, or I could buy you this Nintendo 64, which probably was at the time actually pretty cheap compared to it being a collector's edition, being expensive now. Of like, say I bought it for like $35, and then we could buy 60 games for it. How about that? Let's go with the one that seems a lot more efficiently bought. Um, so I was like, but I was like with the physical media, I was like on the DVD movie side. We also seeing now how they can change things when it's on the streaming service or whatever like that. Sometimes it's for good, sometimes it's for dumb. But I still rather have the original version of whatever that was. So guess what? Physical copies is what it's going to be with DVDs and all that other stuff. And yes, there will be that was like a certain time where it's like they're already trying to do that with that in of itself, where it's like, oh, you can download these games or you can have it on this or whatever like that, and then gone. And guess what? Now you don't have it anymore. How about that there, buddy? But I was like, but if you got the physical copies, hey, you still got it. You can still watch it. And the games, I was like, but the games seem to be in a more, we're going to try to really digitize this a lot more than movies and stuff. And I think that's really just kind of like movies. I like newer stuff. Yeah, that's going to be a little bit hard bargain. Older stuff, yeah, you're going to be able to find that somewhere or whatever. But I just think that it does play a key part. And I think in a time when, especially, you don't know what's going to be real, you don't know what's going to be the actual thing, you don't have anything at all. And even some of the stuff that you get to call anywhere from a job to people that's able to stream the games to people who are just over here just having it as a hobby, or maybe it's somebody like, hey, right now, I was like, "Cause I've been here. You're not playing the games right now. You're not in the gaming mode or the gaming sphere how you used to be. But that doesn't mean that you're totally out of it. Or maybe you're a nostalgic person. You're like, oh man, I want to go back and play these games. Maybe this is the only thing. Like, I don't really mess with the newer stuff, but the older stuff and whatever it is, you can go and do that. But now they're going to make it where, nope, you can't do that at all. You can't even have it as a hobby. You can't even try to, take a break from it and then try to come back. You got to be an avid gamer. Otherwise, why do you even have an account, bro? Do you even game? Um, so yeah, I was like, that's where I sort of am with the whole Sony thing. I was like, and anything where any type of company seems to basically play in the face of the people that is wanting as its customers, as the people that this like you're paying money to, that you subscribe to, and all these other things. And guess what? If you're not getting what you think you need to be getting from this side of them, then hey, if people are willing to do it, I was like, go ahead and do it. Like with so many things that I'm like, hey, people can't already find things to balance themselves out on like what they want to do, what side they're on. I was like, and yes, there's going to be some people that, of course, is going to. I've already seen it where it's just like, oh man, I was like, there's one thing of like understanding that their idea of going digital, but also at the same time, you ain't got to be a bootlicker about it. You ain't got to be a guy that's over here slurping off of a company that does not care about you. And hey, you might not care. And I was like, that's your prerogative as well and all that. But at the same time, I was like, it's also taking advantage of you. It's also taking away your options. And I was like, I don't understand why you even feel like, yes, you might not choose physical copies, but at the same time, why would you want it where it's like, hey, everybody gets to have their own version of whatever they need. Games are still being game system is the I was like, we want the systems to still be able to do all these other things. Also, what I was like, and I mean they must be also be I was like, this is tangent to the thing that I was like, they must not be thinking that a lot of these people not only do physical copies of game, but like how I was talking about with DVDs and movies, must not be doing physical copies of that stuff either. Just because without a disc drive, it's weird that I was like, when they were like wanting to go into this new age of being the next gen and stuff like that, they were like, we were wanting to be a home entertainment center of everything. That you get rid of this sort of takes away from that. And somebody's like, yo, let me watch my collector's edition of the Lord of the Rings in the box set. Guys, guess what? Your gaming community is also sort of those same type of people. So guess what? Somebody might want to just say, hey, let me pop in all of these Lord of the Rings because I got the whole day off. And guess what? You can't do that with the new system. So it sort of defeats that purpose, does it not? But yes, you'll always have people on the other side. And I was like, yes, I get it that streamers and people who make money for this, I was like, okay, I understand it. You got to go get your money. So, hey, you got to buy it. You're going to stream it up or whatever. And I was like, hey, there's some of y'all have been waiting. I was like, I get it. I was like, I do understand on some of that side of things, at least with the gaming portion of GTA. That's why I said I was like, I knew that was going to be a loss. But with the game system at whole, let's be honest, you ain't got to. And to be honest, I was like, I'll say for me, I was like, I'm probably not gonna get a PS6. I was like highly likely. I barely got the PS5, and that was really because I was like people I knew was giving it away, and I was like, oh okay, I'll take that off your hands. I was like same thing with the Switch. Oh, okay, cool. I'll take that off your hands. I did not get an Xbox because I was like, well, there was no purpose of it. I didn't even. I was like, this one and the last, like, I got the last one before this one, and to be honest, after a while, I was like, there's really nothing to cop here. So I started playing the PS4. Then I forgot about the Xbox when it came to the new gen and PS5. After I was like, I might have got it, but I was like, the pandemic sort of changed all that, and so I didn't get it. And then I was like, I realized like, oh, I'm still playing the PS4. There's still games here. I'm cool. I'm fine. I was like, then that's sort of the thing is, and I'm like, I've seen other people say it. That's like, I got a whole bunch of games on catalog, and it's like, hey, to be honest, I think that's sort of how it's going to be. Is that, hey, yeah, it's gonna the PS6 gonna come out. People gonna copy it. They're gonna be like, oh, I'm like, you broke. You a broke boy. All right, cool, man. I was like, you got it. I'll let you have it. But if the majority of people is like say they're gonna done and they actually hold the line and don't just do this fake pretend stuff at the beginning, hey, we'll see. I was like, we'll see how all that goes. And I was like, but this is probably going to be it on everything, and we'll see. I was like the PS3. I think they said they're turning off all. I was like, they're not going to turn off all the server for that. PS4 is going to stop having games in the next couple of years, which is normally how it goes anyway. So I was like, so PS3, hey, y'all gonna have no choice but to really get physical copies. PS4, I was like, hey, there's still some time being, but I would suggest probably doing physical copies of that because I was like, if PS6 don't really sell how they expecting to sell, guess what they'll do? They're gonna start doing like people with their iPhones, where it's like, oh man, your old iPhone just happens to be working slower. It seems like you're gonna have to upgrade, don't you think? So anyway, let me know what y'all all think. I was like, this ain't going nowhere. This ain't gonna be the only time I talk about. I just wanted to get a little bit how my thoughts and my background on why I basically am agreeing with bump Sony, physical copies, and whatever you own. Let me know what y'all all think about this. Anyway, Mr. Nobody signing off. Till next time.